Good morning. Welcome to New Center Maine's Political Brew. Glad you could be joining us today, along with Democratic activist Betsy Sweet and former Republican State Senator Phil Harriman. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
A lot going on, so let's get right to it. We'll focus on Augusta right now, and the Mills administration is working on a plan to hold Maine's electric utilities more accountable. The bill would set minimum standards for service with the threat of some steep financial penalties. The PUC would have to issue a quarterly report card on whether the utilities are meeting the standards. Phil, let me ask you, is this a political move designed to head off the referendum expected next year that would require Central Maine Power and Versant to sell out to that new consumer-owned power authority?
Yeah, perhaps it is. It's also, I think, a great election year strategy tactic by Governor Mills to demonstrate that while she may have been opposed to a consumer-owned utility, she is in favor of raising the standards of service. So I think politically that's probably a good move for her. You know, there's a new public advocate, Mr. Harwood. There is a Public Utilities Commission. That's why they're empowered to do their job, is to make sure the utility companies that are basically regulated monopolies in our state are serving the customers. And I can only imagine the new president of CMP and the people who work in the harsh conditions out there, particularly this time of the year, making sure that the poles and wires are working. They want their company to be looked upon in a favorable way. So perhaps this is a fresh start for everyone.
And it's worth noting, Phil, that the public advocate did tell us that he was involved in helping to draft this legislation.
Yes, that's right.
And while you still have some CMP opponents, such as Republican Senator Rick Bennett, who say this proposal doesn't go far enough, Betsy, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a recognition of how bad the service is. And, you know, we are dead last year after year after year, and nothing's been done. And I do agree with Phil. You know, the workers at CMP who are out there trying to keep our power on are doing their damnedest. But it just shows the problem when it's a foreign-owned investor company, that their responsibility is to the foreign investors, not to the people that they're serving. And so this may be too much, too little, too late. I think people have had it. I do think it's trying to put some space between Janet Mills and LePage on this issue, because he is, there hasn't been much space between them on these issues. And so maybe that's part of what this is. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that we reduce the costs and we increase the quality, which has been proven can be done by a consumer utility. So I'm not sure that more penalties or more of a watchdog. I want the PUC and the public advocate to do their job for sure, and they've fallen down on that. But I'm not sure that this is going to fix the problem.
One way or another, it certainly seems as though this is going to be a factor, certainly an issue in the race for governor this fall. And we're wondering now if this could be a two-candidate race. Former State Senator Tom Saviello has decided not to enter the race. We have yet to hear plans from any other third party or independent candidates. So this just might be the first one-on-one race for governor since Governor Joe Brennan beat Charlie Cregan back in 1982. Betsy, if that's the case, if this is just Janet Mills against Paul LePage, who benefits?
I think Governor Mills benefits from this. I mean, I think that, Phil keeps promising us that LePage is improved and quieter, calmer LePage, but just in the last couple of weeks, he said some things that I think he hasn't gotten there yet. And I think there's a lot of independents and moderate Republicans who just can't do that again. And so I think that if it's a one-on-one race, it benefits Mills.
And Phil, it seems as though a two-person race, these two candidates, both governors, and it would really set a tone for what Maine wants going forward.
Yeah, it sure would. And it would be refreshing to have that clear a choice. But let's remember, with public financing of candidates for governor, there's $1 million basically out there for someone who can get on the ballot. I'm pretty sure we'll see someone try to use that as a way to get their point across politically and cause this to be a 3 or maybe 4-person race.
Well, here's my ideal scenario is that Angus King decides to leave the Senate and run as an independent for governor. Then you'd have 3 governors in the race.
And I just want to assure you, that public financing is not a piece of cake. There's not just $1 million hanging out there. It's a lot of hard work to get that $1 million.
That's a good point. The legislature is considering a proposal to establish a $3 million program to train climate science teachers. Some Republicans oppose it, arguing that this could give environmental groups too much influence over the teachers they would help train. But the backers say this is something students themselves are enthusiastic to learn about. Phil, is it a good or bad idea?
Well, I think it could be a good idea. It's a matter of what's in the curriculum. Certainly the climate is changing. And there's a number of factors that should be introduced to the curriculum to share that with the next generation. So I wouldn't jump to conclusion that this is just an environmental organization's opportunity to influence young minds, but rather let's sit down in an academic way and make sure we all understand what that curriculum is going to be and see if we can make it work.
And what's happening to the climate. I mean, we're in a crisis. We are in a climate crisis. So I think it's a great idea. And I just got back from a birding trip in Costa Rica where they took the money from the Army, they have no standing Army, and they put it into creating national parks and curriculum for their children to understand the importance of their economy. So now you have children helping the parents figure out how to have no single-use plastic, how to compost, how to do all that stuff. And it is amazing. And they're ecotourism has grown by millions and millions of dollars. So this could have all kinds of economic benefits as well as helping us save the planet.
I believe that diversity benefits the Supreme Court, but the way that the president has handled this nomination has been clumsy at best. It adds to the further perception that the court is a political institution like Congress when it is not supposed to be.
Betsy, what do you make of that argument?
Come on. I mean, it's a political institution since her leader that she defends all the time, Mitch McConnell, got rid of the filibuster in 2017 for Supreme Court justices. And then when he held up Obama's nomination of Gorsuch for over a year, but pushed through Amy Coney Barrett in 8 days. So if that is a real complaint on her part, she certainly has done nothing within her own party to make that different.
Ronald Reagan, Phil, in 1980 promised to name one of his first choices for justice would be a woman. Donald Trump said his third choice was going to be a woman. How is this different?
That's right. It's not. And now because this goes back to the campaign trail of Joe Biden and accurately, as Betsy has described, the inside the U.S. Senate politics. Yeah, it has become political. I wish the president had just taken a step back, not declared what race and what gender he was going to choose, but just let that come forward naturally and introduce her to America. We would have a very different conversation today.
And I think it's really important that we do recognize that he is trying to make the court look more like America. And remember that Senator Collins in her campaign said that there was no systemic racism or institutional racism in Maine. And I think this is an awareness that there is, and we've got to start doing things that actually start to address it. And this is one step in that direction.
And to be fair, Senator Collins has maintained all along that it is a good idea to have this kind of diversity on the court. So that's something I think everyone is probably in agreement on. In that same ABC News interview a week ago.
And you voted to convict President Trump as well. Why can't you rule out supporting him in 2024?
Well, certainly it's not likely given the many other qualified candidates that we have that have expressed interest in running. So it's very unlikely.
But can't say unequivocally that she would not support him for another term in office. Phil, why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's two reasons. One is the politics of politics. Is you don't say to someone who obviously is very successful politically in the Maine second congressional district, don't come and be part of my my constituency. And I think the other is, why start a fight within the party when you don't have to? There's a long time to go before the nomination process begins to unfold, and who knows where that's going to end up.
Well, to me, I think it's a sad moment in choosing politics over integrity. And I think that Susan Collins, the person of integrity that we have known for so long, has before stood up, and she did it with some of those votes. But now this is reading the political tea leaves, right? She doesn't want to piss off the people who are Trump supporters in her district or in the state. And I get that. But I think that when you have someone who has more evidence every day, was not only not against the insurrection, but was fueling the insurrection, we need a Margaret Chase Smith moment from somebody. And I was hoping it would be Susan Collins.
Senator Angus King has drafted a bill with Senator Amy Klobuchar to clarify that a vice president has no power to reject electoral votes from any state. That's a response, of course, to what happened after the 2020 presidential election and the efforts to overturn the electoral victory of Joe Biden. And Senator Collins is working on a similar updating of the 1880s era electoral college law. Betsy, it seems pretty basic, but these days you have to ask, will it pass?
God, let's hope so. This seems like, okay, just think of this. This is a law that says you can't overturn what the people in the democracy decided. Like, really, that's where we are? And I think we have to be really careful that this is not a substitute for the real voter reform efforts that are taking place and the voter suppression to undo or keep at bay the voter suppression efforts that are happening already in 19 states across this country, the very most basic thing. And so, I mean, it's a little teeny baby step. And if we can't pass it, God help democracy.
Well, I think there's much more of a conversation that needs to be held around this. The electors are chosen by the legislatures in each of the individual states in America, and they literally go and cast the state's vote for the electoral college that the Senate, counts. So let's make sure we understand how this is going to work, because the electors from each state are not obligated to vote in the way in which their state cast their ballots. And second, there could be an elector who, for whatever reason, had some undue influence or other reason that their electoral vote should be questioned. So I understand the goal. I agree with the goal, but let's make sure we've really thought this through.
Also in Washington, Democratic Senator Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico is hospitalized after suffering a stroke. He is expected to make a full recovery, but won't be back to work for at least a month. Phil, what does this do to the Democrats' ability to conduct even routine business, let alone the big things such as a Supreme Court nomination process?
Oh, I think everybody will probably just take a nap for about a month, because you're right. Nothing's going to get done if they need those votes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, again, I think it's so sad that Mitch McConnell said on day one, his job was to stop Biden's agenda, whatever it was. And you didn't even know what it was yet. So I think that this is the perfect opportunity for them. And it does show the tenuous hold that Democrats have on the Senate. And I think I agree with Phil. I think it's nap time for the Senate.
Well, let's wrap up this week with winners and losers in politics. Phil, we'll start with you.
My losers this week are New England Athletic fans. We've had to say goodbye to Tom Brady, who gave us 20 years of just astonishing moments. He's going to rank up there with the Bill Russells and Larry Birds and Ted Williams, and we've all lost a great athlete to retirement. Good for him, but sad for us. And my winner this week is in my former Senate district of Brunswick. There's a gentleman by the name of Daniel Atkins, who for 2 years now has been standing outside the hospital there with signs offering encouraging and motivating words for the healthcare workers in that region. He's my winner of the week.
Very nice. Betsy?
Well, I'm all about the Olympics this weekend. So my loser is the Chinese government and how they're treating the Uyghur population and the incredible human rights abuses against them. And my winners are all the Olympic athletes, the people who have sacrificed their lives, their families, and are participating in these Olympics during COVID, but often without the support of their families and their loved ones, and certainly with a lot of fans. And so I just wish them all great luck and thank them for bringing a real bright light to all of us as we watch them over the next couple of weeks.
Betsy Sweet and Phil Harriman, thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. News Center Maine is back after this.